Namaste. Namaste, everyone. I hope you are able to hear me and see me. So, today we're going to start something really interesting, something which I was considering to begin. And instead of starting tomorrow on the auspicious occasion of Guru Purnima, about which I think doesn't require much to say what Guru Purnima is and why we celebrate and what about. But I felt it is not just about the guru. It is also about the pupil, about the learner, because the guru was also a learner. Guru was also a pupil. Guru was also a sadhak once upon a time. And there is a beautiful relationship which grows between guru and a shishya. So as important it is to talk about the guru, it is equivalent to talk about the shishya. And the guru's quality or the guru's stature increases as per the stature of the shishya. The way the shishyas behave, guru's pride, guru's position has been considered superior and a better. If shishyas behave badly, guru is not considered good. And if shishyas are really prominent and charming and more wise, then of course, guru gets the credit for that. But it is the shishya who has to do that work. So guru is nothing without the shishya, and shishya is nothing without the guru. And on this occasion, I felt to start this beautiful compilation done by Sri Aurobindo International Institute of Educational Research, Auroville, and the main editor was Dr. Kirit Joshi, whom I admire a lot. And the book title is The Good Teacher, the Good Pupil, and the Good Pupil, the Good Teacher and the Good Pupil. So this book is for all the learners, the teacher learner, child learner, parent learner, any educator, anybody who has a zeal to progress, to improve, not just academic learning, but learning of life, learning for self-mastery, learning in terms of specialization, something in the field in which one is working. So what we're going to do is we're going to read this book, but we're not just going to read this book straight away. Neither we will have more of a discussions in a circle. Idea is little different this time. So we'll read a little part of it. We'll take a pause. We summarize it in our head and we write it down, any important keywords and a point. Then we again read it slowly. While reading, we take a turn, paragraph or whichever way suits. We'll share the online link also, so you can read it at other time too. And after that, maybe a simple process is to look about those things. Sometimes sharing something which is beyond to it. So right now I've been called to read out something which I just came across as I'm going through this beautiful book. And this portion comes from Sufism stories, basically, by Musa Kazim. Teachers, teachings, taught. Teachers, teachings, taught. Teachers talk about teachings. Teacher talk about teachings. Real teachers study their pupils as well. Teachers talk about teachings. Real teachers study their pupils as well. Most of all, teachers should be studied. Most of all, teachers should be studied. This is written by Musa Kazim, and one can reflect and ponder about just this three simple sentences. Teachers talk about teachings. Real teachers study their pupils as well. Most of all, teachers should be studied. What is it talking about? Will not answer it. Let it sink in. I read it again and put it in a comment. Share it with me. So on the next Sunday, we can have some more lively conversations on this. I repeat what Musa Kazim has written. Teachers talk about teachings. Real teachers study their pupils as well. Most of all, teachers should be studied. And the title is Teachers, Teachings, Taught. So like this, there are stories, essays, autobiographical pieces, dialogues, many different things which has come up in this beautiful compilation. It is quite thick, huge compilation of more than 500 pages with some beautiful diagrams, stories across culture, across religion, across countries. This has been taken with the purpose of bringing out something for the teachers and the pupil learners, and appreciate the shift which is happening in the education world, where we are moving from teacher-oriented education to child-oriented or a learner-oriented system. As I went through this little bit in the past and right now, what I feel is that requires a little bit more shifter version of the shift, or a little bit more alignment in the shift. And the problem today, which is occurring in the child-oriented education or so-called child-oriented education. So in name of child-oriented education, we are bringing all sort of things. There are good and bad, both the sides of it, especially the edutainment part of it. In name of making things simple, things are becoming more easy, and children are just not taking it with that due respect for it. And what suffer is the learning. What suffer is values. So value system breaks down in the whole bargain in the process. Because when you get something more easily, most of the time you don't value it. And that's not something good to cherish about, at least in the time where we are living in. So yes, we require a shift from a teacher-oriented education to child-oriented education, but it should not be on the cost of learning itself, should not be on the cost of our values itself. And that was the beauty of a Guru-Shishya relationship in the parampara. Even in the parampara, very rarely you nowadays find that that has been taken care of. A lot of rigidity has come in, lot of fixity has come in, lot of wrong notions of always putting either a guru at the pedestal, not questioning it. That's not the way. Actually, the good people will always ask the right question to the teacher, and a good teacher would always respond to those questions, never shuts them down. And if both of them don't know the answer, they would search, because a good teacher is always a learner first. So that's my personal view also, that we need to shift our orientation. Like in a, if you see any Vedic hymns or Vedic prayers and all, it was not, you cannot say that they were teacher oriented or a child oriented or a guru shishya. The orientation was about the evolution. Orientation was about gaining that vidya, to get that knowledge. Okay, so, and the seeking for the truth, right? So everything is aligned, whether it's a teacher or a learner, adult or a child leading a children. The orientation is towards progress, towards evolution, to gaining that knowledge and making this life better, making this world more beautiful, more peaceful. That's the real orientation. So neither making it teacher oriented nor making it a child oriented. I would say making it more learning oriented, making it more truth and evolution, progress, change oriented. That is the real purpose of the education. I would like to read out one or two more paragraph today just to begin, and I hope from next Sunday onwards we'll have many friends here uh, listening, reading, discussing, contemplating, reflecting, putting into practice, trying to figure it out, more stuff, and how we can lead more stress-free education, more child-friendly education, more teacher-friendly education, because at the end, both of them have to continuously evolve into a better being. Correct. So this one paragraph is really interesting. Talking from the introduction, a good teacher is always a help in the pupil's pursuit of accomplishment and perfection. So I'm going to previous paragraph a little bit. Indeed, if we examine the examples of a good teachers of the past or of the present, we shall find that they have always been learner oriented, and good pupils have blossomed like lovely flowers when tended with care, love, and understanding, or even when left to themselves with interventions from teachers when necessary. A good teacher is always a help in pupils' pursuit of accomplishment and perfection. For the pupil, the important things are his own enthusiasm and personal effort that can sustain patient and persistent work towards growth and progress. The teacher comes in to uplift the pupil's effort, his growing knowledge, his skill, his orientation. So, when a good teacher and a good pupil come together, astonishing results follow for both of them. And under ideal conditions, incredible transmutations of the personality and its power take place, as we can witness in some of the selection in this book. A good teacher, I have escaped some paragraphs in between. A good teacher is a constant learner. He not only renews his knowledge in the field of his specialization, but he also continues to enrich his personality and strives to achieve deeper and higher realizations. Even as he rises higher and higher, he feels a greater and greater need to share his knowledge, skill, experience, and illumination with others, particularly with younger generations. In doing so, he may encounter resistance and conflict. And the previous prize is also interesting. A good teacher accepts his work as a trust given to him by his station and its duties. He recognizes his own importance while acknowledging its relativity. He suggests but does not impose. He is a friend and a philosopher and guide. He does not arrogate to himself vain masterhood. Inspired by humility, he looks upon himself as a child leading children. Such a beautiful thing. Teacher being a constant learner, renewing not just the specialized subjects or the domain of it, but enriching the personality and aspiring for a high realization, working towards it, and then sharing with the larger audience, particularly the younger generations of it, and not getting into that arrogance and a pride and a masterhood, but rather feeling just as a like child leading the children. How beautiful it would be to be that kind of a teacher, to have that kind of a teacher around you, and wishing, aspiring, asking people, giving that platform, providing that platform to teachers also. It's not that easy to provide such a platform, to create such a school where teacher can practice all these things, can learn, talk about all these things. One more paragraph. Now we talked about the teacher. Now it is time for a pupil. Let us now turn to the pupil. Every child has an inner desire to learn and to grow. But the most important characteristic of the good pupil is his zeal or enthusiasm. This zeal is what determines the persistence of his effort. And such persistence is indispensable to achieve higher and higher levels of excellence. A good pupil is a seeker of knowledge and motivated by curiosity and a growing sense of wonder, seeks knowledge for its own sake. He travels from the known to the unknown, and in this travel does not limit himself to thought and imagination alone, but sets out to come in direct connect with nature and man in order to gain access to wider, deeper, and higher realm of experience. A good pupil tends to organize his life and to find time for as many activities as possible. In due course, he discovers that concentration holds the key to development and that he can compress a long program of work into a much shorter period by applying the art and science of concentration to it. In his natural process of flowering, he comes to combine work and play. And whether in his more formal studies or in the fine arts and crafts, he aims at cultivating and refining his actual and potential faculties. I just read two more line from next para and then pause there. A good pupil realizes that both body and mind should be developed vigorously and rigorously. He discovers that the qualities needed in physical education contribute a great deal to the development of an integrated personality. For example, the sporting spirit valued most in physical education includes good humor and tolerance and consideration for all, a right attitude and friendliness to both teammates and rivals, self-control and scrupulous observation of the laws of the game, fair play, an equal acceptance of victory or defeat without bad humor, resentment, or ill will towards successful competitor, and the loyal acceptance of the decisions of the appointed judge, umpire, or referee. So many things are there applied, and especially the concentration part of it. So what is the concentration is the subject. Even someone had asked Swami Vivekananda, and in that meeting or conference, whatever it was, he had shared that if I have to take up my whole education again, I would have just learned one thing, and then one thing is concentration. Concentration on any subject on my own will, and moving from that subject to another subject. So able to concentrate on any subject on my will and able to detach from that subject and put concentration on something else. This is a real task for the teacher and for the learner to develop this power of concentration. Concentration is not just studying 10 hours, or concentration is not something precise. Concentration is also misunderstood a lot by having an interest and losing yourself completely in that subject. That is also concentration, but it's of a different nature. what is that nature of a concentration? So there's a two example you can think of, right? We talk about concentrated solution in chemistry, and we talk about concentrated ray, the rays of a light getting concentrated on a one point. So there is a basic difference. So the solution you see, it gets submerged, it gets completely dissolved into it. Okay, that is a one another way of a concentration. So when a child or even adult, like you're completely submerged in that whole process, right? And more and more and more, right? You forget yourself in it. That is the one kind of a concentration. But now here it is very diffused nature of a concentration. So when a young child is learning or playing, doing some activity, or even the adults like playing video games or watching a match or having a certain conversations, and it happens naturally that we forget about ourselves, we forget about the time, we forget about everything else, and we are just that being there. So that's a concentration, like a solution which gets created, which is you can have that level of concentration into it based on your attention, right? But then it is difficult to separate them. Okay, you need to do a process for a separation of a mixture if it has become so tight bond solution, right? So child or adult doesn't like to come out of that activity and start doing something else or listen even to someone else calling it out. Right? It creates a kind of a disturbance. So it's not willful attempt many times or willful detaching and moving to something else. And when you look at the concentration or concentric nature of the rays of a light, and we consider light as a knowledge, right? It is about focusing at the one point, that one thing which we want to figure it out, one thing which we want to find out, want to know about it, want to gain about it. Right? There's a will. Everything is focused, attention at that one element and the end. It is there in the solution too, but here there is a easy chances of moving that concentration from one activity to another activity. This concentration is also powerful, just like the solution becomes so powerful, like as concentric acid is more powerful, more potent compared to the diluted version of it. Correct. But the nature wise, here it's a diffusion and here is a complete infusion, you can say so, right? And eventually both mix it. So both the processes children had to learn, every learner has to learn, adult has to figure it out, that what is this concentration is truly about. And as it's written, right, he discovers that concentration holds the key to development, and that he can compress a long program of work into a much shorter period by applying the art and science of concentration to it. So what is this art and science of concentration of it is something to be discovered. And I wish in this journey of reading this book, The Good Teacher and the Good Pupil, we would meet many such instances. We would start sharing. We take this book also as an exercise for ourselves to grow our level of concentration and try to figure it out how to shift this concentration from one activity to another activity or one kind of a work to another kind of a work. So it would be not just a reading, it not just be just a discussion or a sharing. Many surprises and many of variations would happen. That's all, I guess. I actually didn't thought of so much to talk about and share here on this platform. At the end, I would like to read something interesting, maybe from here, maybe a poem or a story. Let me see what opens up. So many things. Looking for something shorter, something simpler in a sense that doesn't take time much. Actually, I'm drawn towards something. Okay. So this is okay. This is communion with nature. That's a title, and teacher and a pupil, which been talked about here is, I guess, a second, communion with nature. It's William Wordsworth. Yeah. So it's about William Wordsworth's poems and how he communicated. And the beautiful poems, right? He describes into it in his walking tour of France. Going to be my third poem now, because the project. A slumber did my spirit seal. A slumber did my spirit seal. I had no human fears. She seemed a thing that could not feel the touch of earthly years. No motion has she now, no force. She neither hears nor sees. Rolled round in earth's diurnal course, with rocks and stones and trees. A slumber did my spirit seal. I had no human fears. She seemed a thing that could not feel the touch of earthly years. No motion has she now, no force. She neither hears nor sees. Rolled round in earth's diurnal course with rocks and stones and trees. And here is a short write-up from Sri Aurobindo's commentary on this poem little bit, and when he talked about the Wordsworth. Sri Aurobindo writes, we perceive that he had not only the vision of this and the joy and peace and universality which its presence brings, but the very sense of it, mental, aesthetic, vital, physical. Not only the sense and vision of it in its own being, but in the nearest flower and simplest man and the immobile rock. And finally, that he even occasionally attained to that unity, that becoming the object of his dedication. One phase of which is powerfully and profoundly expressed in the poem, A Slumber Did My Spirit Seal, which we read out just. A slumber did my spirit seal. I had no human fears. She seemed a thing that could not feel the touch of earthly years. No motion has she now, no force. she neither hears nor sees, rolled round in earth's durant course with rocks and stones and trees. So in this poem, a slumber did my spirit still, Sri Aurobindo continues, where he describes himself as become one in his being with earth, rolled round in its diurnal course with rocks and stones and trees. Taken from the book Synthesis of Yoga. Lot of painting, many other. Another big poem has been given. Maybe we can keep it. We're going to read out that. Just a little part of it. Fair seed time had my soul, and I grew up, fostered alike by beauty and by fear, much favored in my birthplace, and no less in that beloved well to which long we were transplanted. There were we let loose for sports of wider range. Plenty. Like, not so. Nature as a teacher, uh, a young children as a teacher, or master, and many other stories we're going to read. Thank you so much for joining today. See you on next Sunday, 8 p.m. for more details. And if you want to have link, everything is available in Kirit Joshi's archive online. You can get the book also from sabda.in. I hope that is the correct address. You can check. And yeah, see you on next Sunday, 8 p.m.